Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 Index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed right here on the Nasdaq stock market. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large-cap growth and also one of the best-performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining me today, we have Ben Jones, who's a product development specialist with Nasdaq's index research team. And Ben, it's no surprise we're seeing the Nasdaq-100 up every single day this week. And with that, the Qs crossed 100 billion yesterday.
That's right. It's another major milestone for the index, as well as a milestone for the ETF that tracks the index. So the NDX QQQ Trust Series, which tracks the Nasdaq-100 index, closed yesterday with a market value of more than 100 billion for the first time since it began trading in 1999. And this is important, Joe, because basically this ETF now joins a club of 4 other ETFs with over 100 billion in assets under management. These ETFs include the SPDR S&P 500 Trust, the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, and the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF.
All right, and if we take a look at our next chart here, looking at the momentum, you have April momentum, it's bringing some signs of May momentum. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, it's that old saying, right? April showers bring May flowers. In the case of the market, it appears that the momentum that was, showering in April across the Nasdaq-100, so to speak, has, sprouted additional momentum through the first week of May. So the Nasdaq-100 is basically up over 5% since the close of last Friday. This means that it is continuing to outperform the S&P 500 by over about 2.5% right now. And we continue to see further evidence of breadth and participation across the Nasdaq-100. One way to track this is through the advanced decline ratio, which is often used in technical analysis to see, kind of the percent of, stocks that are advancing or declining in a particular index. If we look at this particular indicator that I'm showing right now, this is a little bit different, where what we're tracking is essentially the percent of Nasdaq-100 components that are advancing, right? And it's a way to, again, gauge breadth and gauge participation, right? Because if this number is low, right, only a few percentage of components within the Nasdaq-100 advancing, there's not a lot of breadth, right? And so it's really useful when you, kind of connect the dots and look at multiple data points. So what you see is basically the percent of, advancers within the Nasdaq-100. And what we've seen over the past week is that we've seen this value track over 60%, right, the entire week. So every single day, more than 60% of the Nasdaq-100 has advanced. And this is above, that 1 month average that we've seen, which is right around 58%. So it's another positive sign of breadth within this universe as more and more stocks are continuing to advance. In fact, if you look at yesterday as well as today, that number is north of 75%. So we're seeing, a good portion of this universe of stocks continue to push higher.
Yeah, I think it's quite incredible that as we're speaking today, 97%, that's almost every single component in the Nasdaq-100, has positive weekly momentum.
That's right. And so weekly momentum is another way of tracking kind of the breadth and health, or really the momentum of a particular universe. And if we look at the Nasdaq-100 today, so looking at all the different components that make up this index, 97% have positive weekly momentum. So this is using the weekly momentum data point from Nasdaq Dorsey Wright. And it essentially tracks the relationship between a one week moving average of a particular security versus its 5-week moving average, right? And so the premise here is that if that 1 week moving average is above the 5-week moving average, then that component, that security, has positive weekly momentum. So that means that roughly 97% of the Nasdaq-100 has that positive momentum, i.e. its 1 week is above its 5-week moving average. Back on April 17th, this indicator reached 100%. So meaning every single NASDAQ index component achieved positive weekly momentum. So now it's right around 97%. This is important, right? Because if we look at data going back to 2001, the chart never reached 100%. And so if you take into account the breadth indicator that we're talking about with, percentage of advancers along with this momentum indicator, it's just another indication of positive momentum and breadth that is currently present in the Nasdaq-100 today.
Yeah, that's really quite remarkable, the performance. Ben, thank you so much for joining me on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.